To make delicious chocolate chips, we follow a few simple steps. 1. Melting the chocolate. Firstly, we need to melt the chocolate, the raw material which is cocoa beans, chocolate in different form, which includes block and cocoa butter, and many others. To temper the chocolate, we heat it very slowly by using low heat sources such as a double boiler or microwave. One must be especially careful not to introduce too high temperatures of heat to melt the chocolate, as it will compromise the structure of the chocolate. The melting of the chocolate makes it become so flaccid and fluid, such as that it will be liquid form once it's melted. Then the melted chocolate is ground to extremely small particles of approximately 20 microns in size. This process is known as conching, and this involves placing the chocolate paste in a machine known as a conch. The conch features large granite rollers, which together with the beater continue mashing the chocolate, which in return causes the releasing of flavors. It can take anywhere between several hours and a few days, depending on the required texture and taste of the chocolate. The chocolate also liquefies during processing, and as it is ground and refined, it turns into smoother, tastier, and shinier. Tempering is a very important process in chocolate production, where chocolates are subjected to heating, then cooled to certain temperatures. This process realigns the chocolate crystals and produces a shiny, stable chocolate with a very clean fracture. Some of the common techniques of tempering chocolate include seed crystal tempering, tabling, and mechanical or machine tempering. Each method has its own merits and demerits, and thus, the choice of which method to use for a given chocolate will depend on the type of chocolate to be used and the desired final results. The tempered chocolate is then formed into chips. The liquid chocolate is poured into a conveyor belt by a machine. The chocolate cools and solidifies into the appropriate shape, such as tiny, round chips, when the conveyor belt passes by. To produce chips of various sizes and shapes, the machine can contain specialized molds or nozzles. As the chocolate chips are being created, some machines can incorporate nuts, fruits, or other components. Starting with white sugar, then brown sugar, and finally butter, the mixer thoroughly blends these first ingredients until the butter becomes soft and creamy, and the sugars are evenly dispersed. Then it's time for the headliner, chocolate chips. They're semi-sweet, a mixture of bitter and sweet chocolate. Next comes the flour, baking soda to make the dough rise, and salt to add flavor. The final ingredients are whole eggs, beaten and combined with vanilla made from beans harvested in Madagascar, Africa. Mixing resumes until everything is well blended, which usually takes about 5 minutes. The company closely guards its specific recipe, but if you're curious, you could probably figure it out by multiplying the ingredients of a home recipe to yield of a production batch. Workers transfer the cookie dough to a machine called a former. It pushes the dough through round eyes, producing row upon row of round pieces, each weighing 1.4 ounces. The factory produces several sizes. The factory then flash freezes the dough rounds for sale to food service customers, such as restaurants and hotels, which bake the cookies in their own kitchen. The freeze tunnel uses liquid nitrogen to create frigid temperature. The passing dough rounds solidifies in approximately 5 minutes. Exceeding the freeze tunnel, the dough rounds pass under a metal detector to ensure they don't contain any metal particles. This safety measure is standard practice in the food industry. The packaging system is entirely automated. The first station erects the box, the second station lines it with plastic. A conveyor belt, meanwhile, feeds the frozen, unbaked cookies onto automated scales. Once the scale hits the per box weight, the feeding pauses, the bottom swings open, and the cookies drop into the box awaiting directly underneath. The next stations seal and label the boxes, which workers then load onto pallets. The pallets go into a storage freezer where they stay until it's time to ship them out by freezer truck to the customer. Nestle also sells gift tins of cookies. For that market, they bake the cookies in-house. Workers lay out the dough rounds 2 inches apart on trays lined with parchment paper. This prevents sticking, making it easy to remove the baked cookies without breaking them. The dough rounds are nearly 1.5 inches wide by 1 inch high. As they bake, they flatten out and double in diameter. The trays remain in the oven for several minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. A turntable inside rotates them so the cookies bake evenly throughout the tray. A few cookies per batch go to the quality control tester, who unfortunately doesn't get to conduct the assessment by eating the samples. Rather, the tester measures the diameter and height to ensure consistency in size and chip content. In the online catalog order assembly area, workers line the bottom part of the gift tin with a decorative cellophane bag. Then, they carefully layer the correct number of fresh cookies inside in a staggered configuration. This not only creates a nice presentation, but also prevents damage in transit. They close the bag with a gold twist tie to seal in the freshness, close up the tin, then pack it for shipping. Toll House cookies are perhaps one of the most favored treats around the globe. Let's break down the simple steps involved in making these delicious cookies at home. First, let's keep in mind that we have to warm up our oven. This involves in using the oven by setting it to a given degree, which is often around 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This will ensure that the cookies cook well to perfection and also have that brown look we all love. Next, we gather all the dry ingredients: flour, baking soda, and salt. We then combine them into a bowl. Then we get the wet ingredients: butter, granulated sugar, and brown sugar, and some vanilla extract. To these, we add a mixer to cream until the mixture is smooth and creamy. Then, we insert eggs into the mixture one by one, mixing the batter well at every stage. Last of all, we incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and blend them at once. To make the cookies more special, we added chocolate chips and nuts to the dough before baking them. When the dough is risen, we will then drop it into a baking sheet with a spoon. As the cookies spread during the baking process, we leave a little space between each portion of the dough. We first put the baking sheet in the preheated oven and then bake the cookies for around 9 to 11 minutes. We watch them not to turn, and that's how it continues. When they are golden brown in color, we remove them from the oven and allow to cool on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes. Then we move to a wire rack to cool them to a room temperature completely. And that's it. According to these steps given above, with assistance, you can now bake good Nestle Toll House cookies to share with your loved ones. So there you have it, a glimpse into the world of Nestle Toll House cookies. From the humble beginnings of a home cook's experiment to the industrial marvel that it is today, the chocolate chip cookie has captured hearts worldwide. Want to try making your own batch of iconic cookies? Grab your apron and head to the kitchen. With a few simple ingredients and a bit of love, you can recreate the magic of Nestle Toll House at home. Remember, every bit of Nestle Toll House cookie is a bite of history, a taste of nostalgia, and a pure moment in indulgence.